Hi, I'm Bianca from Botsociety, and today we're here at Macy's.com to speak with Camille.
Hi, I'm Camille Mixter. I'm a senior product manager here at Macy's.com, and I head up the Voice Lean Lab. And our primary objective is to test and learn in the voice space and understand how and where customers like to interact by voice. So we're not setting out to spend months and months to build a predetermined voice app that can do X, Y, and Z. Our goal is really to test different use cases and see how they resonate with customers and use those findings to incrementally build out voice as a new channel. Yeah, well, it creates a really collaborative working environment where people feel empowered to share their ideas and contribute their opinions regardless of the role. There's also a lot of owning different hats at different times. So for instance, a developer might have an amazing design idea, or if our tester is feeling overloaded, we might spend a whole day just running through use cases and helping them out. And because we're co-located and we are all in a room together, we're able to bounce ideas, draw on the whiteboard, share articles, ask questions, and that helps it so we're constantly learning from one another. And there's so much transparency across each role that it really helps to build trust within our team. So we all feel like we're working towards a shared vision that we're all invested in and accountable for. Another advantage is that because of this super collaborative subculture, we're able to move a lot faster than traditional teams. Instead of going back and forth over email, we're able to, if something comes up, we can tackle it together head on in real time.
So we've got status and we've got points.
What's the difference?
Okay, so the difference is that status are like different tiers. And any number of these different tiers can have points. So
they're
they're
going to give a different response maybe? Like for
Yeah.
platinum members?
That's a really good point. Maybe we should think about how we want to, where it makes sense to customize, right? So, yeah.
Well, human language is incredibly diverse and people are incredibly diverse. So people from different locales, different age groups, different ethnicities, and cultures all communicate really differently. And so there might be hundreds, if not thousands, of different ways that a customer could say something as simple as what events are going on at Macy's. And it would be impossible to handle all of the ways up front. And to some extent, that's what we count on machine learning and NLP to do for us. But we want to make sure that we're handling at least the most common ways that customers are saying things so that no one gets left with an error response for something we actually have an answer to. And this is where the beta testing comes in. Once we've done our rounds of internal testing, we actually start grabbing outside users, whether it's coworkers or friends or family, and we have them play around with our voice app unguided. And we just observe the way in which they ask for things and where they get stuck, and make sure that we're accounting for those prior to going live. And we've even started to crowdsource some of this information. So asking them to, if they can submit, send us different ways they might think to ask for something. And this is by no means a perfect solution, but it's gotten us so much better at handling at least the most common ways that someone could ask for something and ensuring that we're accounting for those. Well, we're partnering with marketing on a broader strategy for how we can educate customers about our voice application. But in the meantime, we've come up with a scrappy method to get the word out. A few months ago, we did our first store visit right after we launched our first Amazon Alexa skill and action for Google Assistant. And we set up a booth at the Macy's Union Square store, and we actually just brought customers over and we talked to them and about the work that we were doing, and we did live demonstrations, and it was so amazing to see the surprise on their faces when they saw that you could actually talk to Macy's in this way. We also got to get their feedback from them, hear what their ideas were for what's next, what they want to see next. And because we sell Google Home and Amazon Alexa in store, we had them both for sale at our table. And I think that really also helped to tell the story of how Macy's can help you with everything from buying one of these items through to at home using your assistant in one of those use cases. So it's something that we've actually decided to roll into our release process going forward. And it may be small scale, but it's gotten us so much closer to the customer and is a way to get the word out, but also surprise and delight them with something they previously didn't think was possible. Cross-team collaboration has been critical. Voice is a new space, and we're learning so much, not just about not from our customers, but also internally, how we can do things better and operate better as a team. And we're always looking for opportunities to try new things. So for example, we spend a lot more time now up front going through our design process, and we've made this a very collaborative and iterative exercise. So product comes to the table with the what and the why. What is our customer hypothesis and why do we think it's important? And dev will, start to think through any upfront technical constraints that they can think of, or any APIs that they might need to get access to in order to solve for that problem, while UX and copy start to sketch out an initial flow and an initial dialogue. We then come back together and try to poke holes in the design as a group. So, did we think of every use case? And what happens if the user stops talking here? Was there a technical constraint that we missed up front? Or did we overcommit ourselves and do we need to kind of scale it back? And we go through several rounds of this in the time span of just a few days. And then we prototype the interaction and put it in front of customers. So by the time that we're actually ready to start development, we're already on version 4 or 5 of our experience.
And then maybe if you guys, now that we know kind of the different cases, do we want to start getting like our first draft going?
Map out the flow, create the dialogue.
Yeah, and now that we're doing personalization, we can probably layer some of that in, like using the user's name when they come back and being a little bit more friendly.
Well, we wanted to blend seamlessly into our users' lives. We thought about the busy mother or the young working professional who's always on the go, but loves fashion and wants to know where to shop and what's going on at the store before making a trip all the way out there. So we knew we wanted to create an easier way to access store information, but we wanted to make it a delightful interaction that would surprise her along the way. Well, because we're building out voice as a brand new channel, everything is being done from the ground up. So everything, there's no control group to A/B test against, and everything's going out to 100% of customers. And because voice is still so new, and customers are still educating themselves about how they can interact with third-party voice content. So despite the rapid growth that we've seen and the far reach of smart speakers, it's very much still early days of adoption. And discovery of third-party content and what you can do with skills and actions remains a challenge. So this limits the amount of quantitative data that we actually have to evaluate. We also have other data limitations, like the fact that we don't get a transcription of what the user said with Amazon Alexa. So to overcome these things, we've constructed a hybrid approach of looking at our data, where we look at quantitative metrics like sessions, engagement, and retention, and combine that with more qualitative KPIs like customer satisfaction and likelihood to use again and usefulness. So we're running dedicated user tests on each of our use cases, and using that feedback in combination with the quantitative analytics coming in to get a more holistic view of the experience and how it's performing. Early on, I think we realized that we needed to do more rounds of design up front and include more team members in that process. Initially, we did one round of ideation and then came up with a dialogue and a design and got to building. And what we realized was there was all sorts of holes in our interaction that we hadn't planned for. And we were making a lot of on-the-fly changes. So we had to course correct, and instead what we did is we started bringing in more team members early on and really leveraging the power of divergent thinking. So everyone in the room has different points of view and thinks very differently, and that helps to point out design flaws that others might not see. We also became a lot more iterative in our approach and started layering what is called Wizard of Oz style testing, where we prototype the interaction and put that in front of users. And it's still impossible to plan for every scenario up front. Some things you still don't really seem like constraints until you get in there. But we've gotten so much better at identifying any kind of early design flaws and incorporating rounds of iteration to provide the best experience possible.
So probably if someone has no points and no star money, it might be kind of sad for them to just hear, hey, you have 0 points and 0 star money. Should we write something custom to make it kind of more, maybe we can direct them into a store, since we have a store intent, and say, hey, get shopping and start earning, or what do you think?
Think about enrollment.
Yeah.
Well, voice opens up some really exciting opportunities when it comes to your brand. By inserting a personality or sound effects or changing tone of voice, you can establish a much more emotional connection with your customers. So we thought a lot about what the Macy's brand represents, and it was important to us to build a brand voice that was consistent with our values but could be recognized across different touch points. So we wanted her to be helpful but authentic and a bit surprising. We also gave her a sense of humor and a little bit of wit. We're officially living in a voice-connected world where people can talk to their phones, can talk to their smart speakers, their car, some can even talk to their microwaves. And this phenomenon seems to have popped up almost overnight, with much of the growth happening within the last 2 years. And this is such an important and emerging trend, but it's still relatively not well understood. Consumers are still trying to understand everything they can do with voice and how they like to interact, and brands are still trying to learn what's the best way to communicate with that customer. I believe that voice is an extremely transformative technology. Something that might take 2, 5, or even 10 clicks or taps on a mobile or a desktop computer, like tracking a package or placing an order, can be done in a matter of seconds and completely hands-free with voice. So it creates a really frictionless experience for our customer, and the nature of voice allows for a more natural interaction. And with Macy's, we want to blend seamlessly and effortlessly into our customers' lives and be there for them however and whenever they need us. We view voice as a natural extension of our existing customer relationship, with the added advantage of being able to make certain tasks easier and being a fun, novel way of talking to us. I think we'll start to see a lot more multimodal interaction in the next couple of years. And this isn't something new necessarily. Customers are already doing this today when they speak to their phones and they choose to text or type a response back. But with the rise of smart displays like the Google Home Hub or the Echo Show or smart TVs, I think we'll start to see more interplay between voice and visual. And I predict some really exciting and innovative use cases will come around that leverage a visual interface but remain voice forward, especially in the areas of retail and fashion. I can also imagine a future where your voice assistant can serve you anytime, anywhere, regardless of your context. So maybe one could start a conversation at home on their phone and then continue that conversation in the car and pick up on their smart speaker when they get to work. And all of this could be done without having to start the conversation over each time. Today, voice assistants still struggle with understanding contextual questions, but I expect that to change and for it to become much more conversational, much more seamless, and much more individualized in the future.